Hello, and a very warm welcome to Cultural Communication Confidence with me, Victoria Reynoldson. And a very warm welcome to today's episode, where we're talking about the communications skills that you need to master as a global leader. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, this is a question that I sometimes get asked. What is it that our organization, our teams need to focus on? What are those communication skills that are going to make the difference for our leaders of today and tomorrow? And maybe you're one of those people as well. Maybe you are somebody who is expert at what you do, experienced, you have the skills and also the qualifications, but you recognize that what is holding you back is the way that you speak and communicate as a leader. And you recognize that if you work on these skills, this will be the key to start unlocking your career progression, to start helping you accelerate towards that next career move. So that is why we're talking about this today. And of course, your communication skills are incredibly powerful because it's as a leader what you will use your communication to share your vision, to engage people with that and bring them with you along the journey. It's the way that you engage people, whether you're talking to them one to one or whether you're talking to hundreds or even thousands of people. It's also the way that you navigate your workplace, whether that is at the most junior levels and engaging some of your more recent joins to the company, or whether it is about how you're communicating at the most senior levels of your stakeholders, maybe the board, for example. Communication skills for me are critical at every touch point. And I think they're a key part of influence, of decision making, of being perceived in the way that you want to be perceived as part of your personal brand. So let's really talk about those areas that I suggest and recommend to you that you are focusing on. But before we do, I want to share with you that I have a resource that accompanies this podcast. That resource is focusing on 5 key leadership topics that will help you go further with your learning, with your growth, and help you even further on this area. It's a totally free resource which I'm making available to you, and I would love to share it with you. Global Leader Impact, you can access that at www.culturecuppa.com/leader. Let's come back to the topic then. So, the key communication skills that you need to master as a global leader. The first area that I want to talk about is structuring and articulating your ideas with clarity. Clarity is a big area for me, and it's one that I know my clients come back to time and time again. Being able to share your thoughts and ideas in a succinct, concise way is often seen as what differentiates people who are at that middle management level and those who are at the leadership level. Being able to frame your ideas in the right way so that they are positioned and that they land well with the people who are hearing them, that you have that understanding of how to influence effectively. Certainly, clarity also comes into being able to, in the first place, identify who you're talking to, understanding them as people and knowing what is important to them and what they're going to resonate with in your messages. And when I'm working with clients in my coaching one-to-one, that is one of the areas we look at. We look at the influence matrix so that we can design communication strategies according to the different types of people we're influencing. I've talked about framing and positioning, And ultimately, this is also about getting people to yes, convincing them with your ideas. All of this is wrapped up in clarity, but also knowing how to move through when you don't have clarity. So, one of the biggest fears that I know some of you face is having a mind block, having a blank, and not knowing how to express yourself clearly. When you have that, there are certainly things that you can do, strategies you can tap into that will help you move forward so that you can keep going, keep expressing yourself with clarity, even when you're feeling that sense of block. So, this is the first area, being able to structure your thoughts and articulate them with clarity. The second area is one which I'm asked about very frequently, which is how to handle challenging conversations. Now, challenging conversations come up in every part of your workplace. I'm sure you can recognize some yourself. Examples like disagreement or even conflict in the teams that you're leading. This is something that you need to be able to navigate very well as a global leader, and it's a core skill that I think you need to have. So, really consider the types of situations that require your elevated communication skills to be able to handle them, but also to lead them. So, think about I've mentioned disagreement and conflict. For sure, this is an area that requires your communication skills. Knowing how to bridge towards other people and get away from perhaps people who've been divided into two sides, them and us, and move forward with next steps and find a solution. Challenging conversations can also really be about listening, knowing how to listen actively and well. I know in theory this is something most people agree with they need, but making that real effort and space to listen is not always easy in a busy, full day. Then there is a topic that has come up now and then over the years, which is diplomatic communication. Diplomatic communication means knowing how to adapt what you're saying to the context, knowing when you need to perhaps approach a situation with a certain style to allow the conversation to get going, but also to navigate perhaps those politics that are existing in the room. There is, of course, feedback, both the giving and the receiving of feedback, and making sure that when you have feedback to land, that it's heard, but equally, you know as a leader how to receive that feedback and to take that forward. As you can see, there are many touch points when it comes to challenging conversations. And I'm sure you can think of many other areas that require your skilled communication to make sure that you can be the leader in these contexts. From challenging conversations, I now want to talk about connection. I am a great believer in connection with cultural intelligence. Connection is a superpower. And if you're somebody working in a global organization, or maybe you are somebody who is wanting to do that, then being able to lean into people, even if you're not physically in the same location, knowing how to engage and have great conversations will be a great skill and differentiator for you. So think about the different aspects of connection. How do you build trust and collaborate effectively with people, both internally and externally? How do you develop your cultural intelligence agility? Knowing yourself, first of all, and what your preferences are, but then really understanding how you adapt your style and approach of behavior and communication to really think about the context and what's going to work best so you can come closer to people, but also achieve your performance goals. There is, of course, thinking about the voice and the nonverbal style of your communication. So, communication is more than the words that we say, it is also about those other elements, how we say it. So, using your voice effectively as a leader, but also using your nonverbal communication to bring you closer to people. And then finally, there is conversation, having the conversational skills to come together with people, to get to know them, for them to feel like they know you and you know them, that you can build that personal relationship even if you're not in that same location. That again is a really important part of engagement, which is critical in today's workplace. So, that is connecting with cultural intelligence, the third area. The fourth area of communication skills, which I believe is critical to you, is all about your confidence and communicating with confidence. Now, I've included this here because I believe that in the current moment, I'm seeing more and more people who are experiencing confidence challenges. And these are people who are normally quite confident. They have had great experiences, great career journey so far, but something has shifted. Maybe there is change going on in the organization. Maybe there are transitions happening. Perhaps even they're facing redundancy or layoffs and they're needing to search for a new job. Or conversely, as a global leader, they're starting to expand and they're moving up and stretching upwards to a new role. When there is a pivotal point like this, an important transition phase, this can bring about with it also a reduced level of confidence temporarily. And that is normal. But when you're thinking of yourself as a global leader and thinking about communication skills, we need to come back to how we can start communicating confidently again, get back on track. And this is where it comes to some of the inner work, reminding yourself why you are great, your talents, your strengths, knowing what it is that makes you unique. But it's also recognizing what is holding you back, some of the doubts and the questions that perhaps are getting in your way. And often, when I have these kinds of conversations, what comes up is imposter syndrome or even perfectionism, which sometimes holds people back and stops them from really going further with their confidence communication. So, really kind of think about this. And also, why not think about your leader identity? The way that you show up, the way that you have leadership presence, the way that you lean in and are visible in the room and own the room. These are also key parts of confident communication and a critical way that you are perceived by others and your reputation is built as well. So, that is the fourth area of communication I think are critical to global leaders. Now, before I wrap up and give you your reflection questions, I want to remind you that this is a brief introduction to the topic, but I have a resource which I would love to share with you, which goes much deeper into some of these skills and will give you some further development and learning around this. I'm offering that resource for free to accompany this podcast and to access the training called Global Leader Impact. Head over to www.culturekuppa.com/leader and you can find that link in the show notes. Wrapping up today's topic, the question we were asking right at the beginning was, what are the leadership, the communication skills that global leaders need today? And we have covered a number of these here. I've talked about speaking and expressing your thoughts and ideas articulately and with clarity. We've spoken about handling challenging conversations, being able to communicate your way through those. We've spoken about connection, communicating to bring people closer together to you, and doing that with cultural intelligence, which is an incredibly important part of your global agility. And then finally, communicating with confidence. So, whatever you're facing, whatever transitions and changes are going on right now, you're able to still show up and communicate from that place, knowing how you want to project yourself and knowing how you want to own the room and for people to feel that leadership presence. The questions I'd love you to think about as your extra learning from today are really simple questions, but I would love to know the answers to these questions as well. I absolutely love hearing from you. And one of the things that I get great joy from is when you reach out on LinkedIn, on the messages, and let me know some of the answers to the questions that I'm sharing here. When you tell me about what it is on this podcast that's resonating with you right now. So let's come to the questions. The first one is, from those four areas, which one is your strength today? So which one do you, when I've talked about those and I've shared those, which one really does deeply resonate with you? The second question is, conversely, the opposite. Which one is your biggest development opportunity? Where do you see this as you have to focus to really develop the skills around this? And three, the last question is, where are you going to start? What's your next step? If you're not sure about the next step, again, I can give you some starter ideas. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, on my personal profile, Victoria Reynoldson, and I'll share some ideas with you. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. It was brilliant to talk about this topic, and I really hope this has been very valuable to you as you consider those communication skills that you need to develop to become or to grow as a global leader. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing you next time on the show.